Greetings, it's the 26th of August 2021 and I think it's time to get our forecasting boots on because we have a potential, but not yet formed yet, but potential significant hurricane developing into the Gulf of Mexico over the next several days. Say hello to 99L. Disturbance in the Caribbean Sea. It's centered actually south of Jamaica, which is here, and currently the National Hurricane Center give it a 90% chance of forming into a tropical cyclone within the next 48 hours. Currently the tropical wave is lashing Jamaica in here with some pretty nasty looking thunderstorms. Flash flood warnings have been issued. The radar is down. I don't know if that's related or just a long-term thing. We'll get to the model forecast in more detail in a moment, but I just want to show the track of the storm, which is in here. Jamaica is here getting lashed, and then the storm comes up, it crosses the Cayman Islands, which are in here. This is just one model of the GFS, and then it has it crossing Cuba before heading into the Gulf of Mexico and then heading towards Louisiana in this model run as a significant storm. We'll get to that in a moment. But because we know the track roughly, we can look at the conditions in the ocean to see how warm the ocean is. Let's check that out. Here is the 25th of August sea surface temperature map. The wave is currently over slightly cooler waters than some of the later track, but still very, very warm. Even the greens are 27 Celsius. But actually, the track ahead does have warmer waters as it approaches Cuba. I think it's getting up towards 30, and then into the Gulf it's warmer still. Probably 31 or so. So there is increasing sea surface temperatures along the track, but also some land interaction as it crosses Cuba. We can see the effect of those sea surface temperatures on the maximum potential intensity, which represents an indicator of the maximum intensity possible given the thermodynamic conditions in the ocean and atmosphere. And it gets up into the blues, then you're talking sub 900 millibars potentially, and then into the Gulf. Very high intensities, pretty standard for this time of year, and actually, yes, in terms of the winds, we've got well into category 5s all along here. Let's check in on the model forecast. So here we have the GFS, currently Jamaica in there getting lashed by the heavy rains, and then as the storm develops and becomes a tropical cyclone, in the model, it does cross the Cayman Islands, bringing very heavy rain, and then heads into Cuba and slight weakening over land before it enters into the Gulf. Probably going to be tropical storm warnings if that happens over western Cuba, and then the storm intensifies. You see the pressure dropping, 967, 965, 958, 957, 968 as it makes landfall in Louisiana in this model. Right, that's just one model. Let's compare that with the European Center model, which is here. The storm comes up. It's actually reasonably similar with the storm intensifying and striking. It looks a little bit west of the GFS on the passage over Cuba and then passing through the Gulf, heading towards Louisiana and intensifying into what's probably a major hurricane in this model and making landfall there into Louisiana. Let's compare that with the high resolution storm following Hurricane Wharf, and this is the surface winds. Hurricane force will be in the purples with major hurricanes getting into the reds. So as we go forward, we're looking at Friday over here crossing the Cayman Islands, developing into a tropical storm, which is the greens are all tropical storm, and then striking western Cuba and intensifying over the Gulf as it heads in towards Louisiana. Now, the storm in this model is making landfall at a very high intensity of over 100 knots. I think it's probably a category 3 or category 4 hurricane in this particular model. The landfall time in the Hurricane Wharf in this model is during the night, August 29th to August 30th. Here are some of the other tracks of other models And actually there is a reasonable consensus with just a few outliers taking it into the Yucatan Peninsula now. Earlier there was more of an indication of a possible Yucatan Peninsula crossing. I wonder whether this is now firming up into a more direct course towards Louisiana in the models. We'll have to check, things can obviously change and the storm has not even formed, but I think at this point it's time to prepare for a potential hurricane landfall somewhere along the Gulf Coast around here. Get your stuff together. If the hurricane wharf situation or something similar to that occurs with a major hurricane, you're going to have the usual stuff with evacuations along the coastal regions with major storm surge and damaging winds. So I'm going to leave it at that. Best wishes and see you in the next one. We'll be keeping more updates on this, so please subscribe and we'll go through this together.